Today we're going to be taking a look at a movie called Contracted. No, not a movie about all of these fun things called diseases that I've contracted over the years, but instead, a movie that accurately depicts what it's like for the average female to go through puberty. Anyway, the movie immediately begins with a man in a morgue violating a corpse because he likes his women how he likes his politicians. Dead. After the corpse diddler is done with his diddling deeds, we see that the man has a tattoo of the words Abaddon on his hand, with Abaddon often being associated with a ruler of demons, which makes sense, considering you'd have to be an absolute demon to think that having a tattoo placed like that would be a good idea. And speaking of Mr. Questionable Life Choices, we then see him at a party as he's watching a woman named Sam after she arrives and doesn't seem to like anyone that she comes into contact with. And after she has a few drinks, Corpse Boy makes his move. And by makes his move, I mean he gives her a spiked drink and horrifically assaults her. It turns out that the man's name is BJ, named after his most proud skill, and the next day, Sam wakes up back at home with no idea how she got there. She may have no idea as to how she got there, but you'll have a pretty good idea as to how you earn some rewards thanks to today's sponsor, which I seem to have contracted, Pi. Head over to pi.org/bigwill and install their extension to begin taking control over what ads you'll be shown, while also earning special rewards for viewing them. After installing the extension and heading to a website, you'll easily be able to see how much space has been saved on the page, while also being able to see the amount of ads hidden. But what makes Pi unique is that by enabling rewards for ads, you'll be supporting people within the Pi network as you'll be shown ads for their content, while also being able to benefit from the ads yourself, as you'll be paid to see a number of Pi approved ads and offers, with their also being a way to make money while spending money, due to being able to receive even more rewards by shopping with Pi's approved shopping partners, who gives you cash back while automatically applying coupons at a lightning fast speed on over 10,000 stores. The way I see it is if I'm going to be using the internet anyway, using Pi is a win-win situation. I may as well earn a bit of that pie for myself. So if you're interested in being able to curate the ads you're shown, or like the idea of earning a little bit on the side, then make sure to head over to pi.org/bigwill to get started earning while browsing the internet today. After managing to get herself out of bed, she opens up her cupboard to reveal that it's full of flowers. But a weird place to keep flowers. I use mine for storing body parts. She's growing the flowers in hopes of being granted access to a flower growing competition, a competition which sees who can grow flowers in the most unusual of places. On second thought, I think I could enter, due to the mushrooms that seem to be growing around the various appendages. After looking in her foliage closet, she heads out to see her ex-girlfriend Nikki. Nikki, who is her ex-girlfriend, due to Sam's preference for flowers over women. She's not been feeling right since the previous night, which might have something to do with the non-consensual drugging and abuse that took place, but I'm not an expert. But what I am an expert in is women, and using that knowledge I can expertly deduce that the next scene is completely unrealistic, as Sam wakes up the next morning after having bled an extreme amount of blood, due to women not actually containing any blood. They just consume it from their victims. I spoke to one once, she told me. She heads to the bathroom to discover strange bruising on her lower abdomen and a rash down there, before getting in the shower to clean off the blood, but it doesn't stop coming out. She then finds out from her friend Alice, whose party she was at the other night, that the police are looking for a man named BJ who was also at the party, with Sam not acknowledging that she knew he was there. And despite being one sneeze away from dyeing her trousers red, she heads to work for the day, where for some strange reason she finds the taste of food to be revolting, while the sound of people talking becomes overwhelmingly painful. Nah, that's just called being neurodiverse. She locks herself in the bathroom, hearing the painful and continuous sounds in her head over and over again, where unfortunately for her, the American work culture dictates that one must continue, despite any ongoing schizophrenic episodes. She decides to use the toilet, because she may as well while she's here, having a little overstimulated cry, where she then realizes that she shouldn't have eaten Taco Bell the other night, as the toilet is now covered in blood. Deciding that maybe now she should pay the doctors a visit after copious amounts of her inside juices become her outside juices, the doctor tells her that she has an unusually low heart rate, before checking between her ears to make sure that her brain is still there. And after he's done checking her over, he essentially tells her that she has an STD, without telling her that she has an STD, before dismissing her without doing any further follow-ups or finding a way to treat her, because doing work is just a lot of effort. And despite rotting from the inside out, she decides to go for dinner with Alice, while one of her eyes is completely bloodshot because she only got half-baked. Terrified and confused like the first time I saw a naked woman, she heads home from dinner to apply moisturizer to the area below, because sure, that's going to fix it. A maggot falls out of her underwear without her even noticing, and leaving the free source of protein on the floor to be undisturbed, she starts brushing her teeth before bed, before accidentally hitting one of them with her toothbrush, causing it to become completely dislodged, resulting in her pulling it out of her mouth. Suffering from the extreme and hyper-specific phobia of her own teeth, it then causes her to throw up in the toilet, except she ends up puking blood, which she does repeatedly throughout the entire night. She wakes up the next morning after having confused her toilet seat for her pillow, and it appears that she's been leaking out of both ends, as it looks like she sprung a leak. Both eyes are now bloodshot, and veins are visible across her face as she needs to take a multivitamin and drink a bit of water before deciding to run a bath. A bath that her body doesn't realise the temperature of, as she's running the water and thinking it's cold, while simultaneously burning the skin away from her hand, as apparently she's also lost the ability to see the steam in the room. After going through all of that hassle to run a bath, she then appears in the shower for some reason, because she's a wild card and you never know what she's going to do next. We then see large clumps of hair falling from her head and to the ground, which she promptly ignores, thinking that it's just her hairy drain pet. Sam and her mother have a struggling relationship due to Sam being an ex-addict, and her mother not exactly being supportive when it comes to her choice in partners. She hates women and thinks that they're gross. Accusing Sam of relapsing, her mother suddenly notices the large patch of missing hair on the back of her head, as apparently she's suffering from male pattern baldness, except not. Body parts falling apart in front of her as she speaks, living that American dream. She still has to go into work at a restaurant, despite some of the meat there being fresher than she is. She's preparing a salad while her fingernails bleed all over the place, before she then pulls one of them off with ease, and looks down to see a few others missing. But not only are her fingernails missing, but so is that salad that she prepared. It's been taken out to the customer, who then finds themselves a nice crunchy surprise that they didn't have to pay extra for. Alice calls to tell Sam that BG has been caught, but the police are looking to speak to anyone that he's been in contact with, something that Sam is deliberately hiding due to not wanting Nikki to find out what happened between her and BJ, despite absolutely none of it being her fault. Feeling stressed and upset, she heads over to her old dealer's house, where she then proceeds to relapse just as Alice arrives. With the narcotics floating around in her system, Sam finally decides to tell someone what happened between her and BJ, unfortunately leaving out the non-consensual part of it, leading Alice to believe that what she did with BJ was a deliberate act, before they all just kind of get up and leave, without clearing up this glaringly obvious issue that would help everyone understand what's going on right now. Common sense aside, after using again, she heads to the restaurant where she works for a few drinks, where BJ casually walks right past her, very much not locked up, and very much free. Something which is never once mentioned or even ever so slightly elaborated on, because having a story that makes even the slightest bit of sense is actually stupid and a very bad idea. Trying to take off after the body fiddler, but not being able to on account of being out of it, Sam heads home to be confronted by her mother and a therapist, who believes that the best way to help someone suffering from a problem is to be a complete annoyance, causing Sam to take off her glasses to show that one of her eyes has turned completely yellow, because in her culture, it's seen as an offense to show someone your eyes. And with it finally being time to attend the plant growing competition, barely being able to even look after herself, she attempts to sign in with her plant looking withered and dead, before once again taking off her glasses to show that she is also looking withered and dead. She's denied entry to the competition due to being a bit ugly looking, so slams her flowers down on the table and storms out of the building after having shown that pot of soil who's boss. Wanting to have a little bit of comfort due to her literally dying from the inside out and not being able to show off her cool little plant thingy, she heads over to Nikki's house. Nikki, who then proceeds to tell her that she's not interested anymore and that she's already found someone else, due to Alice ringing her up earlier to tell her that Sam's been with another man. These women clearly not understanding the concept of consent is enough to enrage Sam, causing her to kick the door open and strangle Nikki, because how dare she be so stupid. After having a little girl boss moment and Nikki being dealt with, she decides to go and pay her friend Alice a visit, the person who she believes to be responsible for Nikki's demise. Yeah, accountability isn't exactly Sam's strong suit. She then rather foolishly tells Alice that Nikki has now been dealt with, causing Alice to freak out and try and call the police. But thinking that Alice was just trying to keep her away from Nikki so Alice could have Sam all to herself, Sam proceeds to kiss Alice while her teeth are literally rotting out of her mouth before accidentally puking blood all over her face. Ah, so that's how lesbians do it. Alice, being rather offended at the expulsion of bodily fluids, tells Sam that she's going to call the police and tell them what she did to Nikki, causing Sam to rather appropriately react by biting a chunk out of her neck and reaching for the most dangerous weapon in the house. A mortar and pestle. After using it to grind up her cranium, she then decides to invite someone else over to the party, because why not? Riley. And Riley, being someone who Sam has constantly been rejecting throughout the events of the entire movie, but who she is now calling up due to wanting someone who actually cares about her. And while waiting for him to arrive, she does her makeup while she's got that glaucoma eye going on, before proceeding to immediately kiss him as he arrives, as I guess he's blind too or something. She then proceeds to pass the disease onto him, but then suddenly maggots start falling out of her bloodied maggot cavity. Riley then begins to freak out due to his worst nightmare being to do it with Jeff Goldblum from The Fly, and after not appreciating his rather chewy gift, he runs to the bathroom to clean himself off, before finding Alice's body in the bathtub, as it appears she's replaced her Epsom salts with her own blood. Sam deciding to let this one live. Well, at least for now, after passing along her gift to him, Sam gets into her car and starts to drive away while calling her mother. She tells her mother where she is before passing out behind the wheel and getting into a car crash due to being a woman driver. She regains consciousness, but it appears that it's no longer Sam behind those slightly jaundiced looking eyes, and she swings at the first person she sees. Her mother has arrived at the scene and tells Sam to come over to her, followed by Sam attempting to give her an over-enthusiastic hug and instead attacking her, which then sees us come to the end of this movie, which ends with a woman having a slight overreaction and turning into a flesh-eating zombie. So before this video comes to an end, I'd like to just give a massive shout out and a big thank you to all of the YouTube members and patrons, the people who every month continue to support the channel. If you're interested in becoming a YouTube member or a patron yourself, not only are you just being a great support to the channel, but you also get access to a few little perks, like being able to join the private Discord server, where you can then see uncensored versions of all videos going forward. Starting off with this week's new YouTube signups, a massive thank you to Wild Bill, Broski, Ann Johnson, Ashen Mutant, The Soldier 420, Rowan Nyack, Di, Croissant, Neville Nars, Stefan, Fleur, Zaza Lord, Osiris Avra, Tractor, Connor C, Liz Tenopa, Elliot Johansson, Logan Richardson, Jesse Holcomb, Jacob Slabby, Sky Unknown, Kurt Mayat, Asphyxia, PD Peace, Thiago Uriati, Nocturnal, Taishin, Misery Loves Madness, Luca Guarneri, Keegan Neely, Mike Severance, Kaku, Samuel Gainey, and YB. And now heading over to this week's new Patreon signups, a massive shout out to Guardian, Rule Ortiz, Lele, Christopher King, Christian Spears, Cody Harris, Brandon S, Jacob, Big Puffer, Joel Q Pot, Adboy, Keenan Young, Dwayne the Rockhard Johnson, Caitlin Marie, New Number 2, Chase, I Love Big Will's Content, Jacob, Liz Nelson, Jacob Leahy, Aiden, MSCRS, Stephen M, Reese Taylor, Jaden Pardon, Loading, Mugly52, Bill Gluckman, Dolly, Crimilo, John, Uriah, Morgan Taylor, Morgan Hart, Dumpster Pizza, Boopty Doop, Ezibert13, and James.